You're sitting at the table, your players have spent 40 minutes planning a heist on a local baron's counting house. They've tracked the guard rotations, they've brought the rope, and they finally made their move. And then suddenly, the thief makes a skill roll, something that's happened at the table a dozen times before, at least. But as you look at the rule on the page, you realize this is going to be a mess. It's slow, it's clunky, it doesn't fit the situation that the players have spent a significant amount of game time tweaking and preparing for. And if you follow it exactly as written, the tension in the room is going to vanish. Faster than a torch in a flooded dungeon, it is going to be done. And what do? Do you stop the clock and start a legal debate? Do you force everyone to suffer through a boring mechanic for the sake of consistency? Or do you change the rules right then and there with the dice already hanging in the air? Modern gaming culture tells you that the rule book is a contract. They tell you that changing things midstream is well, cheating. You're cheating the players. But in the OSR, and specifically in BX, we have a different name for that. And many of us call it good refereeing. So today we're going to talk about the art of mid-game pivot. This is a collab with Joe the Lawyer and Joe Block. I'm sure we're going to have completely different angles on this. That's okay. But you and I, we're going to talk about how to fix your game without losing your players' trust. And I'm going to give you a procedural framework to ensure you never get bogged down by a bad rule again. Now, we'll get one thing straight. The shift towards rules as written or raw as a religious dogma is a relatively new phenomenon in our hobby. And when I say relatively new, I'm yanking a chain. Okay? It has its roots in AD&D 1E. So I guess 1977. We'll say when the Munster Manual came out in 1979, it was already established. Run as written, right? That was the standardization that was stressed for tournament play. And it then evolved in an era of organized play, where everything had to be fair across 1,000 different tables. But here's the trick, folks. Here's the little secret. You're not running a tournament. You're not running organized play. You're playing a game at the tavern. You're playing a game with your friends. In BX, the rules are a toolkit. Think about your actual toolbox in your garage or at your workbench in your basement. If you're trying to tighten a bolt and a wrench keeps slipping, you don't keep using that wrench just because it was the first thing you grabbed. You put it down, right? And you find a tool that actually works, that actually solves your issue, your problem. Well, the rule book is exactly the same thing. When people say consistency is key, they're not wrong, okay? But they often prioritize the wrong kind of consistency. Right? They're thinking and they want mathematical consistency. And what players actually need is procedural fairness. Players need to know that you aren't changing the rules to win against them. They need to know that the world has a certain logic. If you change a rule mid game because the current rule is boring, clunky, or nonsensical, you aren't breaking the world, you're fixing the engine while the car is moving. And that's not the simplest thing to do. But, and this is where most referees kind of stumble, you have to be transparent. You cannot be a stealth DM who tweaks the math behind the screen and never tells the players, because that's where trust dies. So to understand where to pivot and when to pivot, we have to look at where the rules usually fail us in OSR play. So, one example is encumbrance, right? We all love the idea of encumbrance until, I don't know, we're 2 hours into a dungeon and realize tracking every single iron spike and coin is making the game feel like an accounting seminar. Maybe it doesn't fit your group. So if you realize mid-session that your players have stopped exploring because they're terrified of the math, well, maybe you pivot. You move to a slot-based system or a significant item system right then and there. What about grappling? Let's be honest. No one likes the grappling rules in any edition of D&D. They all suck. But you get into a brawl in a tavern, a player wants to tackle the half-orc. And suddenly you're flipping through 3 different pages trying to figure out if it's a hit roll, if it's a save, is it an improvised ability check, is it a percentile roll? I mean, I'm delving into the 1E DMG there, but the energy dies, right? This is the prime moment for a mid-game pivot or initiative. So maybe you're trying out the new side-based initiative, but then you realize because of the party's specific layout and composition, the monsters are just getting, I don't know, they're never getting a first strike in because every single round there's no challenge. Your players are getting first strike. They're knocking the opponents out. It's a cakewalk. Now, all 3 of these scenarios, the rules as written, and mind you, rules as written can include house rules. But rules as written are actively harming the experience. And if you stay the course, it's because that's what we decided at session 0. You're choosing the book over the people at your table. So, how do you do it? How do you change the physics of the world without making your players feel like you pulled the rug out from under them? Well, you can use the 3-session trial. It's a formal procedure. I've used it in the past, admittedly sparingly, but it's worked. It's a powerful tool in a referee's arsenal. And here's how it runs. When you hit that wall where the rule as written or as agreed upon fails, stop the game for a minute. You look your players in the eye and say, guys, gals, the current rule for XYZ, it's clunky. It sucks. It's not working. It's slowing us down. It's shite. For the rest of tonight and for the next 2 sessions, we're going to use this instead. And then you state the new rule. And we're going to test drive it. And at the end of the 3rd session, we'll take a group vote. If it's better, it stays. If it's worse, we'll try something else or go back to what we were doing before. And why is this effective? Well, it removes the fear of permanence, right? Players are often resistant to change because they're afraid a new rule will nerf their character forever. By framing it as a trial, you lower the stakes. Secondly, your players are now essentially co-designers, right? You aren't a dictator handing down a decree from on high. You're, I don't know, a lead developer asking your playtesters for help. This builds table trust, significant table trust. And third, it gives you data. You can't know if a rule is good until you've seen it survive a few combats and a couple of dungeon crawls. And 3 sessions is usually enough to give the room time to breathe, succeed, fail, crap out, whatever. So now we have to talk about the gotcha factor because this is the way you can truly screw this up. If a player says, well, I'm going to leap across the chasm because I know I have a 4 and 6 chance based upon our current rolls. And you say, well, actually, I'm changing that to 2 and 6 right now because I think it should be harder. You're a villain. Actually, more precisely, you're being a dick. All right, let's just call it for what it is. You cannot pivot a rule to specifically negate a player's clever plan in the moment they are executing it. That isn't refereeing, that's being a sore loser. The player is right to feel angry. They're right to feel betrayed, right? Your game sessions are built upon trust. You often forget that. And you're messing with that trust. If you must change a rule that impacts a current action, essentially you have to offer the retcon clause. And you tell them, I'm realizing this rule is, in this case, too easy. And I think we need to change it. But since you made your plan based on the old rule, I'll let you take this one action under the old system. But after this moment, we move to the new one. And that's how you maintain your authority while preserving your integrity. You acknowledge that the physics of the world have changed, but you don't punish the character for the referee's late realization. See, the beauty of BX D&D and the OSR as a whole is that the rules are incomplete. Okay, BX D&D was designed to be finished at your table. Moldvay, Cook, Marsh, they weren't trying to write a universal law. They were giving us a starting point. When you pivot, you are participating in the highest form of the hobby. You are taking the raw clay of the rules and molding them to fit the specific needs of your group. Every great campaign is a graveyard of discarded rules that didn't work, right? Your house rule document shouldn't be a static list that you wrote 3 years ago. It should be a living record of the pivots that succeeded and a graveyard for those rules that simply failed. Don't be afraid of the book. The book isn't in charge. You, the DM, the GM, the ref, whatever title you prefer, you're in charge. The book didn't invite your friends over. The book isn't the one making sure everyone has a cold beer or Mountain Dew and a good time. You did. See, we're all trying to find that perfect balance between the parchment and torchlight feel and a game that actually flows. And sometimes that means throwing a parchment out the window and starting fresh. Now, I want to hear from you all. What's a rule you changed mid-session that ended up saving your game? Have you ever had a referee change a rule on you in a way that felt unfair? Let's talk about it in the comments, because we learn more from the disasters than we do from the successes. But learn what to avoid. A huge thanks for 220 plus minions and tavern members. You guys, you gals are the ones to keep the lights on and the ink flowing. If you haven't joined the tavern community yet, hit the subscribe button, ring the bell, check the links in the description for our affiliate partners. Every bit helps us keep this channel independent and grounded in the games that we love. Until next time, keep your torches lit, your blades sharp, and don't be afraid to fix the rules when they break. I'm Tenkar. God bless, and I'll see you at the table.